gentlemen, the NFL regular season is officially in the books, and it's time to move on. It's time to move on from the NFL regular season. We have NFL playoffs. We have college football playoffs. Spring training is right around the corner. The World Baseball Classic is coming up. Hockey and basketball are in the heat of their seasons. We have the Olympics, the World Cup. There's so much going on in the world of sports for quite some time. We have a very busy summer ahead of us. And welcome into our new off-season live stream, Headliners Unfiltered. Everything's going to be raw here. Raw sports, raw comments, raw analysis, raw calves. And I want to kick off today's show by discussing once again just how ridiculous the NFL playoff seeding is. Let me take you back to last season for just a second. Week 18, Sunday Night Football in Detroit. The first time that two 14-win teams matched up against each other in the regular season. The Minnesota Vikings with 14 wins. The Detroit Lions with 14 wins. The number one overall seed on the line, kind of like we saw again this past week with Seattle playing at San Francisco. Now both teams obviously didn't have the same amount of wins, but same concept. Same concept. Last year, Detroit goes on to win that game, 15-2. They take the number one overall seed. But the problem is the Minnesota Vikings, right? The Minnesota Vikings. They're 14-3. They had a better record in the NFC than everybody but one team, the Detroit Lions. They had the same record as the Philadelphia Eagles. They had 4 more wins than the Tampa Bay Bucks, who won the South. They had 4 more wins than the Los Angeles Rams, who won the West. But yet, they were forced to go on the road. First game of the playoffs, they had to go on the road. Now, did it work out for the Lions or the Vikings last year? No, it didn't work out for either of them. They both ended up losing their first games. Minnesota lost in the first round. Detroit, unfortunately, they lost at home as the number one seed to Washington with a banged-up secondary. No Aiden Hutchinson. But this year, we run into almost a worse scenario, in my opinion, because Seattle and San Francisco match up in Week 18 this season. They're playing for the NFC West and the number one seed overall. The winner gets the number one seed. The playoffs now run through their stadium. And the loser has to go to the wild card round. And not only do they have to go to the wild card round, but they're going to have to go on the road. So the San Francisco 49ers go from a chance to being the number one seed to all of a sudden being 12-5, which is a better record than the Chicago Bears, which is a better record than the Philadelphia Eagles, which is a far better record than the Carolina Panthers, who are 8-9. San Francisco, who is 12-5, the Los Angeles Rams, who are 12-5, have to play on the road in the first round, while the Carolina Panthers get rewarded with a home game simply because they play in the worst division in football. Carolina was 8-9 with a point differential of negative 69 points. Negative 69 points. Carolina gets a home game over the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. The The Los Angeles Rams finished 12-5 with a point differential of 172 points. The San Francisco 49ers finished 12-5 with a point differential of plus 66 points. The Carolina Panthers this season scored 311 points, which was worse than the Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, the Washington Commanders, the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, the Detroit Lions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons, the Seattle Seahawks, the Los Angeles Rams, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Arizona Cardinals. That's right, the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers, who now get a home game in the first round of the playoffs, scored less points than every single NFC team except the New Orleans Saints. And they get a home playoff game in the first round. I think it's time we talk about reseeding the playoffs for the NFL. I think it's time that we start having the discussion that if you finish under 500, you don't deserve a playoff spot. I don't care if you won the division. You're not going to the playoffs. I'm sorry, Carolina fans. I mean, if you're a Carolina fan, you're excited that your team is headed to the playoffs. And I get that, and I'm fine with that. And that's awesome. Nobody wants to watch the Carolina Panthers in the playoffs. I'm sorry. Panthers fans are the only fans that want to watch the Carolina Panthers in the playoffs. They are the only fans. Now we have to watch the Los Angeles Rams, who are the 5 seed, go to Carolina and basically put Carolina out of the playoffs in the first 10 minutes of that game. The first 10 minutes of that game, the Los Angeles Rams should have complete control and domination over the Panthers. If the Los Angeles Rams don't win by more than 2 touchdowns, I would be shocked. I would be shocked. And the Carolina Panthers get a home game. Let's not just talk about how that sucks from a perspective of there's more deserving teams to be in the playoffs. Because the Minnesota Vikings, who finished 9-8, they don't get to be in the playoffs. They had a point differential of plus 11. They finished the season winning their last 5 games. They don't get to be in the playoffs. The Detroit Lions, who finishes a plus 68 point differential, they scored 481 points this season. Only 2 NFC teams scored more points than them. We don't get to watch the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. We have to watch the Carolina Panthers, who get a home game. First and foremost, the Rams and the 49ers fans, those fans deserve a home game over Carolina's fans. They deserve a home game over the Carolina fans. Why? Because their team is better. Their team is better. Make Carolina go on the road. You finished under 500. Go on the road. You tried to go win in Los Angeles or San Francisco. You go try to win in Green Bay. You go win somewhere else. There's no reason for you to have a home playoff game. There's no reason for you to be in the playoffs if you're under 500. Maybe I'm a little bit off here, but I think basketball may be the only other sport where you could realistically make the playoffs with a record of under 500. And it's because they take 3/4 of their teams to the playoffs, it feels like. You shouldn't make the playoffs with a record under 500. You shouldn't. I'm sorry. You should not make the playoffs with a record under 500. And you certainly shouldn't have a home game. So the question becomes, how do we reseed the playoffs, right? How do we reseed the playoffs? Because what's the most fair way? What's the most fair way for somebody to make playoff seeding work for the NFL? Well, I think it stays realistically majority of the same. Number 1 seed gets a bye. Number 1 seed doesn't have to play in the first round. Perfect. 2, 3, and 4 are the division winners. Unless, and that's where the caveat comes in. Because if you're the 4 seed, you're typically the worst division winner. Now, over in the AFC, it's not nearly as bad. I feel like in the AFC, it's not nearly as bad because Pittsburgh finishes 10-7, a winning record. Now, it's the worst record in the playoffs. It's the worst record in the playoffs, but it's still a winning record. 3 games over 500. I'll take that. But in the NFC at 8 and 9, you should get bumped from the 4 seed. If you're the 4 seed and you're under 500, I mean, you could even do this in the AFC too. Pittsburgh's going to get a home game in the first round. The Texans have to go play the Steelers. Now, I think the Texans are going to win that game, and when we go live again later in the week, we will talk about more in depth the playoffs for the NFL. I'll give you my predictions. We'll talk about matchups and things like that. But even then, I think the Steelers should get bounced. The Steelers should go to the wild card. The best wild card record takes the 4 seed. The 5 seed is the, at that point, highest division winner, or the division winner that gets left off. So if that were the case, then the Texans would have been the 4 seed. The Steelers would have been the 5 seed. The Steelers would have had to have gone on the road. The Texans don't win their division, but they finish at 12-5, which is a respectable record. Same as the Bills, better than Pittsburgh, better than the Los Angeles Chargers. If they get a home game, Pittsburgh has to go on the road instead. In the NFC, then it becomes the Panthers and the Rams. Then the Panthers have to go on the road, and they have to face the Rams, and the Rams get a home game. It's time that we take a pretty deep dive into playoff seeding and how it works in the NFL and what we can do to make the reseed process work, because it absolutely should. It absolutely should. Let's go to the pulse of the nation on this topic. Jump into the chat and talk a little bit. But the Panthers beat the Rams already. I mean, any given week in the NFL, right? Any given week in the NFL, we see it all the time. Any given week. Bad teams are going to have games where they just show up, and good teams are going to have games where they don't show up. And because of that, that's going to lead. But the playoffs are a whole different scenario, right? Everybody's showing up for the playoffs. There's going to be upsets every once in a while, but it's not like the regular season. Sean lives in North Carolina and can't stand the Panthers. Taylor says, I feel like every Panthers fan I know absolutely shit on the team until a couple of weeks ago. That makes a lot of sense. That doesn't shock me at all. TC need to change the divisions again. I would be down for that. I think a realignment is necessary. I think a realignment at this point in time is necessary. Absolutely. Can I see, do they have like a map? NFL teams map. It is, because I think it's odd when you have, let's say, the NFC East, where you have the Giants, the Eagles, and the Commanders all on the East Coast. But then you have Dallas, who's in the middle of the country. Why wouldn't you put Carolina in the NFC East? That way their under 500 record doesn't make the playoffs. and put Dallas in the NFC South. We've got breaking news. We've got breaking news in the world of NFL. And if Taylor's watching, I think we need a little breaking news stinger to use in future episodes. It sounds like, from what I'm seeing, that Pete Carroll is out in Las Vegas. It is. It is. That's interesting that Pete Carroll gets one season and is out, and you have to wonder if that was kind of always the plan all along. But if it was, he wouldn't have been fired. He would have retired. So it's interesting that he gets one season and he's out. If I had to guess, the biggest influence there has to be Tom Brady. Right? It has to be Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I feel like, has substantially more pull in that organization right now than he did when he kind of became that minority partner. And because of that, I think he wants somebody else. To me, it feels like Tom Brady is running the Raiders at this point. According to owner Mark Davis, GM John Spytek will now lead all football operations in close collaboration with Tom Brady, including the search for the Raiders' new head coach. So the question becomes now for Las Vegas, because obviously Las Vegas, they're looking for a new head coach. We've got Kevin Stefanski out in Cleveland as well as of this morning. Is Kevin Stefanski? Is he going to be the next target for Las Vegas? I feel like Las Vegas is going to be looking for somebody with experience. I don't think Las Vegas is going to be looking for anybody that is a newer hire. Raheem Morris also out in Atlanta. That one, I don't want to say it's shocking. Their GM is out too, and let's just talk about how absolutely terrible of a job that GM just did over the last couple of years. Using a first-round pick on Michael Penix, who is now injured with his third career knee injury, mind you. The dude is about ready to collect AARP, and he's been in the league for all of 2 years. That's how old Michael Penix is. And you used a first-round pick on him instead of building around Kirk Cousins, who Kirk Cousins in his first year coming back from an Achilles, wasn't great. I get that. It was rough around the edges at times. He was much better towards the end of this year. So when you take a look at the head coaching positions that are open, and I would be willing to bet there's going to be some more. I'd be willing to bet there's going to be some more. I don't think this will be the end of it at this point. And so that makes the Titans, Giants, Falcons, Browns, and as of a few minutes ago, the Raiders head coaching openings. If I had to pick one of those teams, it would have to be the Giants. Yes or no? What do we think? If you had to be the head coach for one of those teams, one of those openings, personally, I'm picking the Giants. Give me the young Jackson Dart. Give me Malik Neighbors. Give me Wan'Dale Robinson on that offense. Theo Johnson. Cam Scatabo will be back at some point next season. Him and Tyrone Tracy form a pretty solid backfield. Defensively, they weren't terrible at times. They were terrible at times, not bad at times. It felt like the second part of the season they started to get a little bit better. They spent a lot of money on that defense. A new defensive coordinator absolutely could get things going. If I'm taking the head coaching position somewhere in the NFL and I have my pick, it's the Giants. Now, Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame, he's kind of off the board at this point. He has informed teams that he has no interest in going to the NFL. I have heard some rumblings about Ryan Day. If you're an Ohio State fan and you're watching this right now, I would be willing to guess if Ryan Day left, you probably wouldn't be super upset about it. And I'm trying not to hate on Ohio State too much as a Michigan fan. But I feel like Ryan Day in the NFL would be almost as bad as Urban Meyer without the scandalous Twitter videos of him with a woman who's not his wife. So, hey, listen, Ryan Day, you do what you think you got to do. I think Ryan Day would be about as big of a disaster in the NFL as Urban Meyer was. Kirby Smart, man. Kirby Smart, Buck, just doesn't feel like an NFL head coach to me. I think Kirby Smart and the success that he's had at Georgia, I think he sticks. I don't think he leaves Georgia. Callie, you have PTSD from your kicker. Who's your team? Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. I think that he'll get some interviews, absolutely, and we'll probably hear about those interviews firing up here pretty soon. Joe Brady is going to be a candidate as well. Absolutely. I think a name that you're going to hear pop up a little bit as well. Brian Flores, I think you'll probably hear him. Oh, Callie, you're an Ohio State fan? I had no idea, to be honest with you. If we have talked about that before, my apologies. I forgot, but I don't think I realized that. Brian Flores, I think, should be a head coach candidate once again. The problem is I don't think owners are going to trust him after the debacle in Miami, where they may or may not have been some issues there. Clint Kubiak, Robert Saleh, I think, could get another look as well. Can we not remine NFL head coaches, though? There is no reason whatsoever that, a Mike McCarthy should get an NFL head coaching job again. None. Matt Nagy, I don't think I'd be giving Matt Nagy another chance. I'm not doing that. Not happening. You've kept it on the DL. That's okay. Fair enough. Vance Joseph is another name that could pop up as well. Now that Pittsburgh's in the playoffs, I doubt Mike Tomlin's going anywhere. I feel like John Harbaugh is still safe in Baltimore. I do feel like Todd Bowles will end up being safe. Shane Steichen, he's already back for another year. They've already said that. Mike McDaniel, I don't think he's going anywhere. You got to wonder if Cliff Kingsbury will get another shot at some point in time. No Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly is the offensive coordinator at Northwestern now. Oh, no. Now, is it Northwestern? Hold on. No, it is... Or did he join Michigan? No, it is Northwestern. Okay. He's going to Northwestern. Zach Taylor, I personally feel like Cincinnati should move on from Zach Taylor. So that's the breaking news of today, and we'll keep an eye on that. And the nation out there keeping me updated on breaking news. Greatly appreciate that. Let's move on, though. Let's move on. Let's talk about the college football playoffs. It's something that we don't do a whole lot on this channel. I mean, I do during the off season because I do like a ton of scouting and things like that for the draft, and we talk about it. But let's talk about the NCAA football playoffs. We're gonna have a national championship this year that has not won a national championship in quite some time. And lo and behold, the state of Indiana, which is where I now reside, grew up in Michigan, reside in Indiana right now. I'm rooting for the Hoosiers, man. What a story. What a story. Indiana, the #1 overall team right now. They're the only team that got a bye that was able to win their next game. So now, over the course of the last 2 years with the new 12-team format in the college football playoffs, there's only been one team with a bye to win their game, and that was Indiana, who beat Alabama 38-3. So now here in the semifinals, we have Oregon and Indiana in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, the Peach Bowl. And then we have Ole Miss in Miami in the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. But what a story Indiana is. I don't know if losingest is a word or not, but the losingest team in NCAA football history is the #1 seed and looks like the best team in college football. That's crazy. That's crazy. Indiana has never been good at football since I've been alive. And now they might win a national championship. Good for them. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that with our next topic. But in terms of the college football playoffs, it's an interesting format that I think, unfortunately, has shown a really big weakness. And we talked about reseeding when it came to the NFL, and I think you could make an argument that the college football playoff needs a fix as well. First off, the wait for these teams getting a first-round bye is way too long. When these teams are playing in their conference championship at the beginning of December, and they're not playing another game until the beginning of January, that is way too long for these teams to be sitting around. Dan Lanning from Oregon essentially said the college football playoffs should start the week after conference championships and should be done by January 1st, with the national championship being on January 1st. Will they get there? No, they won't get there. Why? A couple of different reasons. Number one, some of these bowls, they always happen on certain days, right? The Rose Bowl is a New Year's Eve tradition. As a Michigan guy, watching Michigan play in the Rose Bowl, New Year's Day, that's like a Big Ten thing. That's like a Big Ten thing. If you don't have a favorite team in the Big Ten, the Rose Bowl, maybe if you have a team that used to be in the Pac-12, maybe the Rose Bowl but that's just a thing. That's like the one thing left in college football that's unchanged. So for some of these bowl games, I doubt you're going to get done by January 1st because the Rose Bowl is going to be on New Year's Eve. You're not going to be able to play the Rose Bowl on New Year's Eve and then come back and play on. That's never going to happen. But you could realistically say play the semifinals New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and then the national championship is the week after. I think you could do that. But I think they're going to have to make a pretty big change because Oregon and James Madison, Oregon wins 51-34 over James Madison. Alabama beats Oklahoma, a great game, 34-24. Ole Miss stomps on Tulane, 41-10. Miami wins over Texas A&M on the road, 10-3. Basically showing the fact that the College Football Playoff Committee got it right by putting in Miami over Notre Dame. Now, Alabama over Notre Dame, maybe that's a different argument. We go on to the next round. Oregon gets Texas Tech. Texas Tech is the number 4 seed. Oregon beating Texas Tech doesn't really shock me. Oregon beating Texas Tech 23-0. That is shocking. Part of the reason why you're like, do they really need all that time off? Indiana is the one team where it hasn't mattered. First 2 years of the 12-team format, Indiana wins 38-3 over Alabama. They are the only team to have a first-round bye to win their first game in the college football playoffs. Ole Miss beats Georgia 39-34. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin leads Ole Miss, goes to LSU. He's taking coaches with him. And Ole Miss out here beating number 3 Georgia 39-34. Good for them. Good for those kids. Good for those kids. Good for those kids. Their quarterback, former 0-star recruit, goes to play at Ferris State, which you don't know. If you don't know who Ferris State is, they are one of the most dominant non-Division I teams that you're going to find. Multiple national championships in the state of Michigan. Just plugging Michigan there. He transfers from Ferris State, bumps up to Ole Miss. Woo! Let's go. And then Miami 24-14 over Ohio State. Grand Rapids, Michigan's very own. Absolutely. Between them and Grand Valley State, there's some good football being played up in Michigan that people really don't know much about. So anyway, Miami gets the win over Ohio State. Now we're on to the semifinals. Oregon and Indiana, Ole Miss and Miami. Ole Miss and Miami will play on January 8th. Oregon and Indiana will play on January 9th, the night after. I mean, as of right now, I'm sorry, Oregon fans, I got to go with Indiana. With the way that Indiana looked playing Alabama, how could you not say Indiana is currently the favorites to win the national championship? Oregon's a good team, and it is really hard to beat teams 2 times. But here's the thing. Indiana beat Oregon on the road earlier in the season. Indiana beat Oregon on the road. They were at Oregon, and they won that game earlier in the year. Now they get them on a neutral field. Is it still difficult? Yes, but it's not like Oregon went to Indiana. Oregon lost to Indiana. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now it's going to be on a neutral field. So Indiana's at a disadvantage now. No, Indiana went to Oregon, which is arguably one of the tougher environments in college football. Indiana gets them on a neutral field. Right now, Indiana -4 in that game. I'm taking Indiana. I don't know how you bet against Indiana. I don't know how you bet against Indiana. Now, How does Indiana go about slowing down Oregon again? How does Oregon go about slowing down Indiana? That's something that we'll maybe jump into next week, or not next week, but on Wednesday when we're live again. Ole Miss and Miami. That's going to be a fun game. And that's probably going to be the toughest game to pick. Because I think Ole Miss right now, Ole Miss has the confidence and the chip on their shoulder to basically show everybody, including their former head coach, that they were wrong about Ole Miss. Miami's the team that's got the swagger, which is something Miami already has had for years. And if I have to see another video of Michael Irvin coked up on the sideline again of a Miami game, I'm going to lose my mind. That dude is having the time of his life right now, and I don't know if it's because he's high as a kite or what, but that dude needs to take just a little bit of a chill pill. He needs to take a downer with his coke, all right? No offense, Michael Irvin, but you are making this all about you when it should be about the kids. I don't need to see you swinging your belt on the sideline, smacking a Gatorade jug in which you put an Ohio State shirt over the top of. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that. I've seen Charles Woodson, Desmond Howard, former Michigan players get excited about their wins over Ohio State. I have never once seen Desmond Howard or Charles Woodson take his belt off on the sideline and start swinging it around and slapping the shit out of Gatorade pop. Like, I need Michael Irvin to just settle down a little bit. I need that guy to settle down. Absolutely enjoy the win of your alma mater. It is an exciting time for you, but dear God, whoever is dealing crack cocaine in Miami is making a ton of money right now. I got hair in my mouth. That's gross. Don't mind me. So when it comes to Ole Miss and Miami, right now Miami, 3.5-point favorites. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last. I would say that Miami's defense has the better shot at creating turnovers. But I think Carson Beck is more prone to turning the ball over, in my opinion. And I think it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last. Whether it be a field goal, whether it be a touchdown, whoever has the ball last, I think, is going to win that game. And I would not be shocked if we see a game similar to what we saw with Ole Miss and Georgia, where we see both teams put up 30-plus points. So let's go back to Pulse of the Nation. Buck, which Carson Beck shows up? Kind of my point right there, right? Carson Beck, I believe, would be the quarterback that is more prone to turning the ball over. Josiah, Lane Kiffin left a championship-level team for a chance to build a new team, even a possible championship contender. Keisha, Kiffin leaves for a better chance for the ship, and it would be awesome for him to have to watch Ole Miss get one without him. You gotta wonder if Kiffin's sitting at home just rooting his ass off against Ole Miss. You gotta wonder. Couple of memberships. Keisha becoming a member for the 26th month. Hot Toddy, let's go Ole Miss. Keisha's rooting for Ole Miss. Disabled Danny becoming a member for the 15th month. Hey Kyle, love and appreciate the content. Disabled Danny, appreciate you being here for 15 months. Playmaker be lit off the booger sugar. Kaylee, my niece was like, who in the F is this guy? Yeah. When I saw the videos, I was embarrassed. And I do some embarrassing things on the internet. No clue who Ferris State was until my fiance showed me. She's an MSU fan, and they've been a transfer pipeline for academics and athletics for a while now. Yeah, you don't hear a ton about Ferris State, but they are, how many? I gotta look that up real quick. That is interesting. I'm trying to remember because it's a lot. I don't need images. Their 4th national title. Is that what I'm reading here? Their 4th national NCAA Division II title. They were 16-0 this season. As a Mississippi girl, I got to go for Ole Miss. That makes sense. Live bet for Indiana, Oregon, Swag Daddy versus Big Mike. I'm not betting on the game. I'm not betting on the game. I just think you have to, if you're going off of just performances, then I would say that Indiana looks like the better team right now. And that's why you have to go for them. Would I be shocked if Oregon won that game? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would not be shocked at all. Oregon has a chance. My wife, isn't fantasy football over? Told her, so what? Still got to listen all year. Headliner. Jerry, appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Talking a lot more than fantasy football over the offseason. A lot more than just fantasy football over the offseason. That's for sure. So, Nation, who do you got? Who do you got? Miami or Ole Miss? Indiana or Oregon? Miami or Ole Miss? Indiana or Oregon? Who do you guys have? While we do that, you know what we should really do? You know what we should really do right now? We should give away 5 gifted members here on the stream. Anybody watching right now? 5 gifted members on the stream. If you've never been a member before, gifted membership for you. Appreciate y'all for being here. New live show, Headliners Unfiltered. Cali, Ole Miss, and Indiana. Mike, I see you out there plugging higher expectations. I appreciate you. I do. I started a new channel. If you guys don't know about it, it's called Higher Expectations with Kyle Richardson here on YouTube. Search it up, subscribe to it. Going to be posting some sports related videos potentially, but it's more of a life channel. I want to do a little bit more. So go check that out. Absolutely, Mike. Appreciate you. Cali's got Ole Miss and Indiana. Ashley, super excited to see the new content for the off season. I'm sure it will be great as usual. Keep up the good work, Kyle. Appreciate you. Thank you, Ashley. Josiah, IU over Ole Miss. Why not have the underdog turn around, face the unexpected Cinderella run after a public coaching breakup? That would be fun, right? IU and Ole Miss, national championship. Here's the thing, though. The national championship is in Miami this year. That stadium better be packed. That stadium could be packed if Miami goes on to a national championship there. But let's stay on the college football train. Let's stay on the college football train. But let's talk about what college football has become here in the NIL era. The NIL era here in college football these days. The transfer portal and the new transfer rules allow kids to just run all over the place in college football. You can go to a new school every single year. And the stat that I saw over on X, Twitter, whatever it is, it was there are over 4,000 players in the transfer portal right now. Something like an insane 30% of college football players are currently in the transfer portal. That is an insane amount. And the reason for it is because NIL is a big thing. And for those of you that don't know what NIL stands for, it stands for name and image likeness. So college players of any sport these days are allowed to use their name, image, and likeness to profit off of it. Something they were not previously allowed to do. And now they can. And a lot of the kids entering the transfer portal these days, it used to be about fit, right? You go to a school, you don't like the fit, you decide to transfer. You go to a school, maybe the coaching staff changes, you don't feel like it's a good fit anymore, you transfer. You go to a school, you don't get the playing time that you would have hoped for, you transfer. It's not all about that these days. Now it's about potentially the fact that you could get more money by going somewhere else. And some kids use it as more of a bargaining tool. I played really well this year. I want more NIL money from you. Oh, you don't have it? Well, let's go to the transfer portal. Who has it? Now you take 5 visits, you go look at other schools. Maybe your school comes back to you and says, yeah, you know what? We've got the money now. They remove themselves from the transfer portal and they stay there. Maybe not. Maybe they go elsewhere. And there's a really big divide right now, as Brendan says in the chat. NIL is ruining college football. There's a very big divide between, is NIL actually ruining college football? Is NIL making the college football brand worse? And I think there's a few different ways to go about this. I think you could argue both ways. Could you argue that the NIL and the new rules are ruining college football? Yeah, you can argue that till you're blue in the face. Because like some teams, there were a couple of teams that had 40 kids in the transfer portal. 40 players in the transfer portal. That is the large majority of your roster. It makes coaching harder these days, obviously. But I think we need to look at the NIL rules and the transfer rules from a different perspective. And I think that while it's easy to say that the NIL is ruining college football, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Because the NIL rules and the transfer rules are what is making college football more diverse in terms of teams and winning. And it's giving guys, players, in any sport, because again, you have to remember it's not just college football. We're kind of talking about it from a college football perspective, but it could be for any sport in college. When you open up this opportunity to students, you give them an opportunity to succeed. Now, are all of them going to succeed? No. Some of them are going to make very bad decisions. Absolutely. There are going to be some guys who just chase the bag. They go after the money. And it is what it is. But there's going to be other players who they're going to get a chance to transfer. They're going to go somewhere else. And they're going to be successful. Think about IU. Do we think IU would be as successful as they are right now if it wasn't for the transfer portal and NIL? No, I don't think they would. I don't think they would. And at the end of the day, I think college football is in a worse place when you have these same 10 teams dominating year after year after year. Because for a while there, all you heard about was Alabama. All you heard about was Georgia. It was the same teams year after year after year that were making noise in college football. You want to know what I want to hear and what I want to watch? I want to watch Boise State upset Oklahoma in the Fiesta, what was it, Fiesta Bowl back in the day? That's what I want to see more of that. I want to see Indiana going from arguably the worst college football program in the country to having a chance to win a national championship. I want to see an Ole Miss team who loses their head coach at the end of the season make a run in the college football playoff. I want to see teams like James Madison get a shot at Oregon. I want to see teams like Tulane get a shot at Ole Miss. And even though both of those teams did not succeed, I want to see them get a chance. And maybe over the next couple of years, I want to see those teams actually start knocking off bigger teams. That's what I want to see in college football. Think about it from a perspective of college basketball, right? Think about it from a perspective of college basketball. What do we love most about March Madness? What do we love most about March Madness? Obviously, we're watching March Madness in the NCAA basketball tournament. We're watching it so we can root for our team. But we love Cinderella stories. We love upsets. We love 15s knocking off 2s. We love the one time that a 16 is knocked off a 1. We love a 12 seed making a run to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 or the Final 4. That's what the NCAA tournament is all about in college basketball. That's what it is all about. You've had upsets in college football over the years, and you've had those games. I'm old enough to remember Appalachian State beating Michigan in the Big House, one of the worst losses in college football history. I'm old enough to remember that. But you don't see it enough. And how exciting is that? How exciting would it be to see that more often in college football? And we'll get that. Not only that, but I think if you're older than 18, and your name, image, and likeness is being used for your school to make millions of dollars off of you, I believe you should have an opportunity to make money off of that. Drop my pen. Because think about that as an adult, right? Think about that as an adult. Because for everyone out there, including myself, who works full-time, Unless you own your own business, you're helping to make money for somebody else. If you work in sales, if you're a mechanic, doesn't matter what you do. If you work in higher education like I did for almost 15 years of my life. If you work for a company, if you do not own a company, if you work for a company, you're working to make that company money, right? Yes. And at the end of the day, don't you sit at your desk or in your chair or driving your car, don't you sit there and think to yourself, man, I did so much to help the business in 2025, I deserve a raise. Oh, the company I work for has seen our stocks jump millions of dollars. Well, why am I not getting a bigger part of that? Because I'm one of the main reasons why those stocks are jumping. Oh, this business is putting a new building on campus. Well, they're upgrading their amenities because of me. Right? You feel like you deserve to be paid. Shouldn't you be paid a competitive salary to help a company make money? And if that company makes more money and if that company does better, and the reason that it does better is because of you and your part in the company, don't you feel like you should get a bigger part of that? For the longest time, college athletes didn't. At one point in time, Texas A&M was relevant because of Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel put so many eyes on Texas A&M because of him and him playing football for Texas A&M. And he was not allowed to profit off of that. But Texas A&M could profit off of him. Texas A&M was bringing in millions of dollars, not only to just their athletic department, but they were bringing in millions of dollars to their football program and their university because of Johnny Manziel. And Johnny Manziel got suspended because he wanted to sign some autographs. Now, I think Johnny Manziel is a little bit of a tool. And he obviously was not successful in the NFL because he just didn't give an F. But it doesn't negate the fact that at 18, 19, 20 years old, he was helping make millions of dollars for an establishment and was seeing absolutely nothing from it. So I think that, yes, college athletes should be allowed to receive money. Now, how they go about receiving money is one thing, and I do think there could potentially be some changes to how the NIL era works in the NFL. And because of that, I think realistically what you should do as a school is I think schools should be capped in terms of their NIL. Almost like a salary cap in college football. Every school in college football is allowed to spend X amount of dollars in NIL money. You can get it from boosters. You can get it from fundraising. You can get it from selling football cards. You can get it from selling jerseys. You get a cap of X amount of dollars in NIL money that you can spend for your school. However, a student athlete should not be capped. A student athlete should not be capped. So Bryce Underwood, who's the current quarterback for the University of Michigan, if a car dealership in town wants to sign him to an NIL deal, he can sign for whatever he wants to. If a restaurant in Ann Arbor wants to sign him to an NIL deal, he can sign for whatever he wants to. The earning potential for each athlete should be whatever they want it to do. But each school is only allowed to spend X amount. And maybe you throw in the caveat too, If you as a school did not perform up to X amount of standards last year, then you get a little bit more to use in the transfer portal. There's a threshold. You finish here, you get this much. You finish here, you get this much. You finish here, you get this much. And it looks like we might have some breaking news, so let's go to the pulse of the nation here. And let's go ahead and check on the breaking news. Taylor, if you're watching, I definitely think we're going to need a breaking news stinger. Jonathan Gannon fired. Is this accurate? I am not seeing anything yet. Per Adam Schefter 2 minutes ago, Cardinals have fired head coach Jonathan Gannon. GM Monte Osifort will be retained and will be a part of the search for a new head coach. That's another job open. Jonathan Gannon, fired, out the door. I don't know about that. I don't know about that job. I don't know about that job. I just got here and I feel like someone said something wrong and now we're being scolded by a teacher. I'm not scolding anybody. I'm not scolding anybody. Kyler Murray next. I would think so. I would think so. Because Josh Rosen was the Cardinals guy until Cliff Kingsbury came to town. Cliff Kingsbury comes to town. He wants Kyler Murray. They draft Kyler Murray. Cliff Kingsbury doesn't last. Jonathan Gannon comes to town. Jonathan Gannon tries to make Kyler Murray his guy. Kyler Murray isn't his guy either. Now you're basically going to ask a third head coach to take over Kyler Murray. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. I have to assume that Kyler Murray would be gone. Current NFL landscape per Adam Schefter. Head coach openings. The Giants, the Titans, the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Browns, the Raiders. GM openings. The Dolphins and the Falcons. I got to say the Giants is still the best. I got to say Giants is probably the best opening still. The Raiders is an interesting option. The Raiders are an interesting option because you have Brock Bowers, you have Ashton Genty, you have Max Crosby, who may or may not be traded. I don't think that would happen until a new coach is hired, honestly. You have some appealing pieces there and the number 1 overall pick. I feel like, would you take the Raiders job over the Titans? Would you take the Raiders job over the Falcons or the Cardinals or the Browns? I would say probably the Giants is the number 1 head coaching opening. I would say the Raiders are probably next in line at number 2. The Titans are interesting because of Cam Ward, and as Keisha says, mad that they played Ward yesterday. Now he's hurt. We'll have to keep an eye on how much time he might end up missing. That is not good for his development over the offseason. The Falcons are interesting. You're buying into the Falcons for a couple of different reasons. Number one is Bijan Robinson. Number two would be Drake London. But you got to be a little bit concerned about Atlanta because Atlanta doesn't have a first-round pick this year. Atlanta doesn't have a first-round pick this year. They gave up their first-round pick this year to move up last year. I got to try and find what the current draft order is. So right now, it's the Raiders, the Jets, the Cardinals, the Titans, the Giants. Also, for all of these head coaching positions that just opened up, the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Titans, the Giants, and the Browns all have top 6 picks. All have top 6 picks. Atlanta doesn't have a first-round pick. Atlanta doesn't have a first-round pick. And, did I say the Dolphins? I didn't mean to say the Dolphins. No, I didn't. Did I say the Dolphins? The Raiders, the Cardinals, the Titans, the Giants, the Browns. I didn't think I said the Dolphins. If I did, my apologies. They don't have a first-round pick. And your first-round pick from 2 years ago is a 26-year-old quarterback coming off of his 3rd knee injury. You're still tied to a pretty significant contract in Kirk Cousins. I think there's potential in Atlanta, but I don't think it's as good as what people feel like it is just because they have a couple of really good offensive assets. I would rather have the Giants job and the Raiders job over the Falcons. That's me. Falcons are probably 3rd. Falcons are probably 3rd. I'd say the Titans are interesting because of Cam Ward, and Cam Ward played significantly better down the stretch than he did at the beginning of the year. You saw the growth, which is what you want to see from a first-round quarterback, a rookie quarterback. So you saw the growth there. They have some decent defensive pieces as well. They're going to have to get Cam Ward some playmakers, though. They're going to have to be much better on offense. I would say the Cardinals and the Browns right now are tough. Because the Browns, they screwed up with Deshaun Watson. That was a terrible, terrible decision on their part. And trying to come back from it has not been easy. For the Cardinals, I think you have some potential. Trey Benson is a guy that I like. Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe he just needs a better quarterback. But what are you going to do at quarterback? You have the number 3 pick. But when you take a look at quarterbacks this year, Ty Simpson, Dante Moore, Lenora Sellers, who is returning, Fernando Mendoza, Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck, John Mateer. Not everybody has declared yet, though. So those are just some of the top options. I don't know if I'm a Dante Moore guy yet or not. And I'll be honest with you, I really don't know if I'm a Fernando Mendoza guy. I think he's a great kid. I think he's got a ton of heart. I don't know how he translates to the NFL. I don't know. I don't know how he translates to the NFL. I think he's got potential, but he just doesn't seem like a kid that's got that it factor to be highly successful year after year. I think he's Kirk Cousins more than anything, which isn't bad, but I think he's got to land in the right situation, and you really have to wonder if he goes number 1 overall, if Las Vegas is truly the right situation for a guy like that. You got to wonder. So outside of that, when you take a look at the Browns, it's like, what are you going to do at quarterback? Do you really think Shedeur Sanders is the guy? Shedeur Sanders set a record for the worst QBR ever for a rookie quarterback. That's saying something. And you saw some things. You saw some things from him that were okay at times. I don't think he's the guy in Cleveland. I don't think Dylan Gabriel is the guy in Cleveland. You got to wonder, do they give Deshaun Watson another chance? But if you're a head coach coming in, do you want to deal with everything that comes with Deshaun Watson? Are they going to trade for a quarterback? If so, who do they trade for? What free agent quarterback would they invest in that would really be worth their time? So when you take a look at Cleveland, I'll be honest with you, I don't think the Browns mishandled Shedeur. I don't agree with that statement. Browns mishandled Shedeur to the point it looked on purpose. I don't fully agree with that. I think the Browns are just poorly managed overall. I don't think it had anything to do specifically with Shedeur Sanders. I think, again, Shedeur Sanders has a lot to do with him and his dad. Not So Pro Bowler brings up a great point too. Like, Cleveland tried to go the route of veteran quarterback this year too with Joe Flacco, and they ended up trading him because he looked terrible to start the year. He goes to Cincinnati and he looks like he's 25 again. Now, again, the weapons are much different from Cincinnati and Cleveland, so I get why he would be better, but he looked stratospheres better. A lot. I don't... And again, too, now you're asking a head coach to come in and deal with Shedeur Sanders. Do you want to deal with that? Dragonfire becoming a member for the 4th consecutive month. Dragonfire, appreciate you. I mean, quick peek at NFL free agents. Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota, Zach Wilson, Tyrod Taylor, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mitchell Trubisky, Case Keenum, Trey Lance, Carson Wentz, Josh Johnson, Brandon Allen, Malik Willis is probably the most interesting of the group. There is not one name out of the bunch that you look at and you get super excited about. I know Daniel Jones was good in Indianapolis this year. How much money are you going to pay Daniel Jones? And if he doesn't have a solid team around him, is it just the same situation that you had in New York where he's constantly struggling? Aaron Rodgers potentially is going back to Pittsburgh or retiring. I doubt he goes to Cleveland. Russell Wilson at this point, I feel like is done. Marcus Mariota, good backup, not going to make you competitive. Zach Wilson isn't it. Tyrod Taylor isn't it. Joe Flacco, already tried that experiment. Kenny Pickett, you already tried that experiment too because they had Kenny Pickett and they traded him. Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to get the job done. Mitchell Trubisky's not going to get the job done. Case Keenum, no. Trey Lance, no. Carson Wentz, no. Josh Johnson, no. Brandon Allen, no. Malik Willis, maybe, but are you really going to try that experiment? Because you don't have that good of a team around him. Honestly, Cleveland's best bet is to suck again in 2026. That's their best bet. And trade back. If you're on the clock at number 3, trade back. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. So you're asking for competent wide receivers. Jerry Jeudy has some of his flaws, but he has shown to be a competent wide receiver. You had Harold Fannin. You had David Njoku before he got injured. Tillman is not the worst wide receiver in the world. Tillman is a very, very solid deep threat. O-line, yes, you could make a case for the O-line being better, but I would argue that Sanders had competent weapons. Could he have had better? Yes, obviously. Dragonfire, yep, great point. Obviously, Daniel Jones, Achilles injury. When would he even be ready at this point? Because it was late in the season. If it's a full year, Daniel Jones isn't even going to be ready until the end of next year. Malik Willis to Miami. That could end up being fun. With Jalen Waddle. Devon Achane in that backfield with him. Mike McDaniels could get really creative back there, but I do think they need another wide receiver to go with Jalen Waddle. There's not much. Some NFL trade candidates, quarterback trade candidates. I mean, Mac Jones. Somebody could make a deal for Mac Jones if they wanted to. I doubt anybody is going to be trying to trade for Kirk Cousins. Yeah, Mac Jones, I think we should really keep in mind. I mean, we just talked about him too, right? Kyler Murray. What about Kyler Murray? He could definitely be. So, taking a look at Sportsnaut here. He has a contract that's going to carry a $53.36 million cap hit in 2026. So he'd be a very expensive one-year rental. So Kyler Murray would be an option as well. Brad becoming a member for the 56th month. Hope you all had a great season. Thank you, Kyle, for all your hard work over the year. We appreciate it. Hope you get a decent break, Brad. Appreciate you. Listen, I don't know. I don't know about any breaks here, my man. We might not have very many this offseason. We are working hard. We're working hard this offseason. Lamar might be on the move. I would be shocked if Lamar is on the move. That could be an absolutely huge landscape change for multiple teams. Tua could potentially be available. You're right about that. But like you said, with the concussion background, I don't know how many teams would be interested in even investing in him. Ideal landing spot for Kyler Murray. That one I'm going to have to think about for a second. I mean, Miami. Kyler Murray in Miami with Mike McDaniels could be fun. The New York Jets, obviously, but Aaron Glenn is going to be playing on borrowed time if they don't get the quarterback situation right. Kyler in Cleveland, I don't love the fit. You have to wonder. I don't think Burrow goes anywhere, Adam. I think we're good with Burrow. You have to wonder what Minnesota's thinking at the quarterback position. Now, as a Michigan fan, J.J. McCarthy truther, I still think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I might be wrong in a couple of years. I want to give the guy some time. He dealt with injuries last year and this year, which is unfortunately. You have to wonder what they want to do at the quarterback position in terms of bringing in like a competent backup. I think bringing in a guy like Kyler Murray is a little too dramatic. I think that's where you bring in more of like a Marcus Mariota, who could run a similar style offense to J.J. McCarthy. You got to wonder what Indianapolis is honestly thinking at the quarterback position as well. You got to wonder what Indianapolis is thinking. The Anthony Richardson experiment, I think, was really mishandled by them. I think they mishandled Anthony Richardson greatly. I don't think he did himself a ton of favors, but I also don't think they did what they needed to set him up for success. Daniel Jones won't be back. If he is, it's on a small one-year deal to see how he does with the Achilles injury at the end of the year. But like we saw with Kirk Cousins, Achilles injuries are not easy to come back from. Riley Leonard played well yesterday, so you think that Riley Leonard might get a shot, but I can't see Indianapolis going into a season with just Riley Leonard as the starter. Go Texans, Desi, absolutely. Brady Cook a shot. I don't think Brady Cook's it. I certainly don't think you give Brady Cook a shot without a good veteran backup. I think New Orleans feels like they have their guy in Tyler Shuck. I think Atlanta's going to roll with Kirk Cousins for another year. Seattle has their guy. San Francisco has their guy. Los Angeles has their guy. Los Angeles, the Chargers, and the Rams. My son is FaceTiming me. Should we check in with Little Swag and see how he's doing? I'm live right now.
Alright, never mind.
You can say hi to everybody.
I think I'm good.
Okay, what's up?
It's fine. I can talk to you later.
Okay, Little Swag doesn't want to say hi because you have all scared him. But now he's doing something weird with his eyebrow, so we're going to go ahead and hang up on him. All right, I'll call you back when I'm done. Yet Ward suffered an AC injury, not expected to be fired. Or not expected. I started reading two different comments there. Seahawks win the Super Bowl. We're going to talk more about the NFL playoffs on Wednesday when we're live again. To be fair, the scariest person here has to be me, right? Or Anna. Anna's probably a very close second. No, she might be scarier than I am. I think Anna's scarier than I am. I'd say that. I completely forgot what we were talking about. We were talking about quarterback fits. Does Matthew Stafford walk after this year? I think maybe if they win the Super Bowl, but he was so good this past year, I don't think he walks away unless they win a Super Bowl. Maybe if they win a Super Bowl. Maybe, but I think the chances of him retiring are smaller than 50-50. The fit Jamar Chase threw over the celebration of Garrett's record. I just hate to see Garrett get the record like that because it was almost like the Michael Strahan record when Brett Favre kind of went down. That's what it felt. Like, I think Joe Burrow could have potentially escaped that if he really wanted to. Late in the fourth quarter. That felt kind of like a gimme sack. Which I don't love to see, but he still deserved it. It was an absolutely dominating season. So he still deserved it. Chat, what else do we got? We've talked about several things today. We have talked about playoff reseeding. We have talked about the college football playoffs. We've talked about the NIL era, which we kind of got cut a little bit short on with the Jonathan Gannon firing. But what else? Let's take the pulse of the nation here. We're at 12:28. So I was gonna make it a 2-hour show. We're figuring this out as we go. So let's talk about the show itself. I'm excited for this show. I want it to be highly successful. I hope that people continue to show up. For those of you that are members, which a lot of you are, and if you're in Discord, make sure you tell people in Discord, what do we got? Like, what's going on here? Hey, come check out the show. Let's have a lot of fun with this. Make sure you check them out. I want this to build over the off season. I also hope the alerts were working. So as far as QB1 coming out of college, we'll talk about that. I have not started my college dive as of yet. That will be coming. Right now, it's got to be Fernando Mendoza. Biggest named player moving next year, like in a trade or free agency. If we're talking trade, we're talking probably Kyler Murray being the... My cat's scratching at the door, I think. Who I got winning the college championship, we're going to talk about that in the next show. We're going to talk about that in the next live show. I'm going to give you my predictions. I'm going to give you my predictions for the NFL playoffs and for the college football playoffs for the weekend. Is this show mainly going to be about fantasy stuff? Nope. Not fantasy. We will barely talk about fantasy on this channel. On this show. We will barely talk about fantasy. This is real world sports. College hoops. I mean, Michigan's the best team in the country. It's not even close. I don't care that they're not ranked number one. They are number one in the country, and it's not even close. We're 5 days into January, and they've already set a record for most 30-point wins over top 25 teams in a season. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Michigan's the best team in basketball right now, and it's not even close. What's the top 25 look like right now? Because Michigan is number one in the coaches poll. So Michigan, Arizona, Iowa State, Vanderbilt, Nebraska are the teams inside the top 25 that are still undefeated. And it doesn't even look close when it comes to Michigan right now. So that'll be interesting to see how things play out for them, because Michigan's got a tough upcoming schedule too. They've got some really tough games that they're going to have to play towards the end of the season, because they've got, so their next few games, they're at Penn State, Wisconsin, at Washington, or at Oregon, Indiana versus Ohio State, but then they have number 13 Nebraska, 9 Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, Northwestern, UCLA. Then to finish the season, from February 17th on, at number 5 Purdue, number 6 Duke, Minnesota, at 20 Illinois, at 25 Iowa, number 9 Michigan State. So we'll really find out what they look like towards the end of the season. Arizona, who's right behind them, I mean, they've got a tough schedule at the beginning of February as well. They've got 17 Kansas, 15 Texas Tech, 10 BYU, 8 Houston, 17 Kansas, and number 3 Iowa State. So once you hit February for that team, like, that's going to be a tough schedule. Iowa State, who didn't get any first place votes, and right behind them, they've got a tough end of the season schedule too. 17 Kansas, 8 Houston, 10 BYU, 15 Texas Tech, 1 Arizona. Shark, just discovered the show and channel. Shark, thank you for being here. Would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. Stick around. Tons of sports content, fantasy football, lots of stuff. You're going to want to stick around. Chat, Shark's new here. Let Shark know why he should hit the subscribe button. Stick around. He also hates Duke. What's Duke's schedule look like? Duke's schedule is nothing like those other teams. 12 North Carolina, 2 Michigan, 21 Virginia, 12 North Carolina. Duke's schedule to end of the season is far easier. Again, at this point, like right now, it doesn't like really matter all that much. I don't think there's too many people that like Duke. Also, did anyone else see Notre Dame's head coach lose his ever-loving mind? That let me see if I can find that again real quick. Not what I was looking for. Okay, I can't find the video, but he lost his mind over a call. He lost it. I thought he was going to take out that referee. Chat, it's 12:36. My plan was to go for approximately 2 hours with this show from 11 to 1. We might have some adjustments. I also thought about, instead of doing Monday and Wednesday, doing Monday and Thursday. Instead of doing Monday and Wednesday, doing Monday and Thursday. Just because I think it gives us an extra day to have some information. It gets us a little bit closer to the weekend. So now that we're talking about like football, we'll give it a little bit closer to the weekend for playoff games. So part of me feels like Monday and Thursday might end up actually being a little bit better. So I'm going to look at that. 2 hours might be a little bit long, especially for only 3 topics. So maybe I'll bump it down to an hour and a half, and then we'll go from there. But the show, like all of our shows, the shows go with the community. So if you're interacting, if you're commenting, if you're subscribing, if views are up, everything like that, then we're absolutely ripping. And we will continue to rip. I'm excited. I'm excited for these shows. We talked about some fun stuff today that typically we don't talk about on this channel. And I hope that we have the opportunity to keep doing that. We only keep doing that with all of you, though. So I greatly appreciate it. Shark's going to keep tuning in. Shark, welcome into the nation. Appreciate it, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go ahead and call it there. We didn't end up quite getting to 2 hours. That's okay. I don't want to force it. We'll keep planning on 2 hours for right now, but we'll see how the next couple of shows go. But we're trying some different things. We're figuring some different things out. We'll see what it goes from. But also, too, if people want to come and watch it afterwards, I want them to be like, oh, okay. This looks like a show I can tune into afterwards. So, chat, if you're in Discord, who do I start this week? Fatal. Fatal's still asking start and sit questions. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah. We'll be talking Olympics. We'll definitely be talking hockey. We'll be talking for baseball. Baseball's got the World Baseball Classic coming up. We might actually have some baseball talk on the next live show. I've got a couple of things I want to talk about when it comes to baseball. And yeah, I think we'll end up getting to 2 hours at some point in time. I do think that, I think the most viewers we got to today was, 51 was the highest number that I saw. But we've had 515 total views. So I think the more that we keep doing it, and we keep doing it on a regular basis, I think more people are going to show up, which is going to lead to more conversation, which will lead to absolutely being able to be live longer. If you've watched this channel long enough, you know that we have no problems being live for at least 2 hours. But Headliner Nation, I appreciate y'all. We're going to go ahead and call it there today. We'll be back. I'll let everybody know whether or not we'll do Wednesday or Thursday this week. I might update it. I'm going to talk to Jake and Taylor about it, and we'll go from there. I'll post it. I'll tag Discord, all the good stuff. But expect me to be live Wednesday or Thursday at 11 o'clock. Headliner Nation, appreciate y'all for being here. Appreciate y'all for being a part of Headliners Unfiltered. All raw sports, raw energy, and of course, raw calves. I'm probably going to go to the gym. Now and keep getting swole, baby. All right. Headliner Nation, appreciate y'all. Love you. Stay safe. Stay healthy. I'll catch y'all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.